From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazende. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You guys can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And so if you're watching on YouTube, hit the little bell button. You get notified every time we upload a new podcast. Sean, happy Friday to you. Happy holidays to everybody watching the podcast. It's because I say that because today was our holiday party here at work.
Yes, it was. I see you got the festive Christmas sweater there. You got the Sil won the vacuum cleaner as one of the prizes given out here at the Fox 8 Christmas party today, the holiday party.
Between headphones and a TV.
And they had the air fryer too. I wanted that air fryer so bad, or the gas grill.
Yeah,
I wasn't lucky. Was one of the lucky ones. It was the luck of the draw. Sil, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
And we move closer and closer to Christmas, which also means we are closer and closer to the end of the NFL's regular season. We don't do quarters anymore because of 17 games, but I consider final 4 weeks of the season. You're looking at the fourth quarter of the NFL season, especially for the Saints starting this Sunday. But like Sil said, be sure to like, share, rate, review, leave those comments, keep them coming. I know you're happy with everything we say. I know you agree with everything we say, so make sure to let us know that in the comment section. But I think you guys are going to like the big picture topic today. Sil.
All right, Sean. So in light of last night's contest between the Chargers and the Raiders, Thursday night affair, we talked about off air about how messy these games can be. Mm-hmm. The Raiders won. What was it? It was 63-20. I
don't know. I checked out on the game. I just kept seeing alerts on my phone.
All that needs to be said is that the Raiders scored 63 points against the Chargers.
A week after losing 3-0.
Correct. So the Chargers parted ways with their GM, Tom Telesco, and most notably their head coach, Brandon Staley. The question that we propose today is that how many games does DA have to lose before a decision has to be made about his future with the Saints?
Why don't we phrase it like this? How many games in these final 4 games does DA have to win to keep his job?
Okay.
In my opinion. How about we go in that direction? It's 2 different ways to ask the same question.
Absolutely.
So there's 4 games left. We know that. And if I were making the decision, it would be playoffs or bust for me because the schedule has never been easier. You've had the division remains so attainable. So to me, if I were making the call, it would be playoffs or bust. I am not making the call, so I'm going to give my best projection of what I think the Saints could be thinking right now as they enter this weekend against the New York Football Giants. 4 games left. Saints, as we know, are what record?
The Saints are currently 6-7.
That's correct, 6-7. So, if you lose out, and you're the Saints, and you lose out, and you go to 6-11, done. Mm-hmm. You can't justify it. Got to go. If you go 1-3 and finish with the exact same record as a season ago, with all the investments that you made, done. Can't even be talked into it. Can't use the injury excuse. Can't use any of that kind of stuff. New coach, right. None of that stuff. So if you go 6-11 or 7-10, done, non-starter. To me, and this is where I think the Saints are, not me personally, but where I think the Saints are, as I mentioned before. There has to be some form of tangible improvement from last year to this year when you said you made the investment that you had a better roster, a better quarterback, a better schedule. There has to be tangible improvement in the win and loss record. So we can do the math now. If last year they went 7-10. You split the next 4. I think that's the minimum. The minimum. I think the discussion is still had, but I think that is the minimum requirement for DA to keep his job. And I am leaning towards, as I hinted at last week, if they won 2 out of the final 4, he would probably survive. He would probably survive and have a chance to shake up his offensive staff and get some new blood in there. Maybe they make some changes in other areas. There's definitely going to be a roster overhaul. I think he survives if they get to 8 and 9. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I do think he's on the fence, right in the middle where this team seems to have lived all year this year. Like I said before, you will never have a schedule as easy as this. And even now, you're going to have it's going to be 4 tough games ahead, but they're not 4 formidable, top-of-the-league opponents. They're 4 teams a lot like you, right in the middle of the pack. So in saying that, how do the final 4 games go? I'm going to give mine. I want you to give yours. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's start this week against the Giants. To me, of the next 4, this is the most winnable game. This is the clearest path to a victory, in my opinion. This is a game I think the matchup favors you. I think on the surface, given what your opponent just went through on Monday Night Football, the highs of that game, the Tommy DeVito storyline, all that stuff. I think it's the perfect opportunity to bring those guys back down to reality. It will not be easy. We know that. But I'm going to say win this week. I want nothing to do with the Thursday game. I don't know about you. That game scares the you-know-what out of me because what I just witnessed last night, the games are always stupid. It's always some crazy outlier. They're never well-played games.
No.
You got to travel from New Orleans to L.A., short week. Man, I ain't no way I'm predicting on
a holiday week.
On a holiday week. I'm a penciling an L right there. And then you get to the final 2 games. On the road at Tampa, and then back home for Atlanta. I got them splitting. On the radio today, a guy you know quite well, Gus asked me about this, Gus Cattingill. And he had win Tampa, lose Atlanta. I had it flipped. Lose Tampa, win Atlanta at home to close out the season. 8-9, and we're back here after that game discussing the future. But more than likely, as I just alluded to, he narrowly escapes the axe. I'm not saying that's the right move, but that's what I am projecting could happen. Now, the best thing, the thing the Saints need to do is just win, because I think if you get 3 out of 4, you're good. And I think if you certainly win out, I think you don't just win out, you go on the longest winning streak of the season, and you probably win the division and host a playoff game and all that stuff. I think, and if that happens, that's great. And I think everybody exhales, takes a deep breath, because they're all coming back next year. But we haven't seen this team do anything remotely close to that kind of show, that remotely any of that kind of consistency. And although last year, it was this time of the year, they went on a little 3-game win streak after the bye. They had that late bye last year. And, I think we've done that study where that mini bye, they've done fairly well following the mini bye because it's that extra few days. So maybe that could help in the Tampa game. But I'm just going to say this. Right now, as I look at it, I got him splitting the next 4. Winning half, winning 2, losing 2, finishing 8-9. And as I'm talking it out right now, I am not confident in this. DA would narrowly escape getting the axe in that situation. What say you?
So all around, I think I'm going to say 1-3. Okay. The reason I say this is this game coming up worries me because the last time we saw a team rally around a quarterback, albeit for a short period of time, was when the Saints were taking on the Minnesota Vikings, and the team kind of rallied around Josh Dobbs for a couple of weeks, and the energy there from Josh Dobbs, he really looked the part for a minute, and he and
then the parade came to a screeching halt.
Exactly, it did. And I'm not saying this Tommy DeVito experiment is going to last nearly as long as that, but they are currently riding high right now, and teams riding high usually are the bane of the Saints this season. Now, I think they do things well that the Saints have difficulty defending, running to the perimeter, for example. And until the Saints show that they can stop that, Saquon Barkley should have a field day. Tommy DeVito's a mobile quarterback. And then the defense, we talked about this a little bit last episode. Wink Martindale has, I want to say, the second highest blitz percentage this season as a defensive coordinator. And we've seen Derek Carr kind of freeze like a deer in the headlights when it comes to disguised pressure and everything like that. So that worries me. I think if things start to snowball in this game, I think you could actually see a Giants win in the Superdome. But as for next week's game, I think I don't think there's really a conversation to be had. I think the Rams win that game, and that's no slight to the Saints. I just think the Rams are better as a whole.
Short week, it's in their favor.
Yeah, and they're at home. And following game, you said Tampa, right? It was at Tampa, and I think the Saints lose that one. I just don't think they're going to be carrying enough momentum into an opposing stadium to win. And then I think they win at home to close out the season against. I think they lose.
See, if they lose the next 3 in a row, does Dennis Allen even get to the season finale? They've never fired anybody mid-season. They don't fire people mid-season usually.
Yeah.
I think the last guy they had, ironically, was Rob Ryan, who DA ended up replacing as defensive coordinator. Look, that is totally fair. That is a very reasonable thing. So I'm assuming in that scenario, you would say DA would then be fired at the end of the season if they went 7-10.
I think so. I think if the losses, if you lose to the Giants and then the loss to either Tampa or the Rams are bad enough, I think that's you.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. I would agree with that. That 7, you've got to have a bump up in wins from last year. Like you've got to have some kind of tangible. Okay, it wasn't as good as we wanted, but at least we were a little bit better to even entertain the argument. And even then, it's not a guarantee. I think he's got to get to at least 9 wins to guarantee himself back. 8 wins. I know they're typing away right now in the comments section, but 8 wins. As much as I wouldn't like it, and probably you wouldn't like it, I think the Saints would, because it's their preference. I think their preference would be, like, they want to see this work out.
Yeah, and
I understand, but look, but other factors are in now. It's not just straight wins and losses. Because, for instance, Sunday, I got a feeling Giants fans are going to travel, and there's going to be quite a bit of Giants fans in the stands. I don't know if it's going to be like Detroit, but if there are a lot of Giants fans again, and there are a lot of boos again. Dude, we're talking about this is major business issues that have crept up that you have never dealt with. Not even when they were terrible have you dealt with this. Yeah. So I think those are all very real factors.
I think, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of blue in the stands this week. Like you said with Detroit traveling, I've not seen a large Detroit contingent like that in a long, long time since they were really good at the height of the Calvin Johnson days. But I'm. And that's the thing. I know we both predicted 10-7 to start at the beginning of the season, and I said my reason for that was Derek Carr would come in and be the 3-game swing, the 3-game difference.
Too. I thought so too.
And so if it doesn't, and DA is telling the higher ups that, hey, this is the guy that can be that 3-game swing, I think you have to kind of question his judgment at that point if they do finish 7-10 for the second straight season.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. What about if they finish 8-9? What would you think?
It depends on what game they lose. I honestly think.
Yeah, you might be right. If they're still in the conversation for playoffs going into the final game of the season and not eliminated, and they get through 8-9 that way, then maybe.
I mean, they up until the last couple of weeks for the last couple of seasons, honestly, they were never like truly eliminated until
even last year they weren't officially eliminated until the week before the season finale.
Yeah.
And then I remember 2021, it was that weird. The game was over in Atlanta, the Saints won, but then either San Francisco or LA won, and it eliminated the Saints. So they won, but they lost because they didn't make the playoffs. So, I'm right there with you. So away they go with this final quarter, this final stretch of the season, and if they're not treating this like a playoff game, I don't know what they're doing. Because, I mean, you've got 4 teams, or basically, other than the Giants are 5-8, but every other team in your schedule has got the same record as you. So you're all in the same boat. So if you don't treat this with the level of urgency and desperation needed, then you don't necessarily deserve to win. So, anyway, the injury report did come out, so there's some good names. Why don't you read them off?
All right. I did not see the message come through.
How about this? Peyton Turner was listed on there, so he practiced. He's still officially on IR, but he was limited. He's not playing, but that's a huge sign in his progress. I've been calling and begging for Peyton Turner to get back, so maybe he's coming off of IR. That's huge because they need some pass rush help, but we'll see when he actually gets on the field and plays. It's not going to be this week. Anyway, read off the names, please.
All right, so we talked about Isaiah Foskey and Kendre Miller earlier this week. They've already been marked as out. And Chris Olave is questionable. He has not practiced at all this week. Andrus Peat, full practice for the last 2 days. He doesn't have a game designation currently. Taysom Hill, full practice today, no designation. Cam Jordan, limited today, no designation. Rashid Shaheed with thigh, full practice. Ryan Ramczyk, limited in practice with questionable. And Jamal Williams, limited as well, all 3 days this week, and is listed as
so that's really good news and bad news. I just mentioned one good thing. Peyton Turner, who's been, you forgot he was even on the roster. At least he's showing up to practice now. That's good. He's off of, or he's going to eventually get officially off IR, hopefully in time. You get Taysom back, and you get Shaheed back. Chris Olave is going to be a game time decision. Didn't practice all week. That hurts. And Ramczyk, oof. If Ramczyk can't go, there is no one that could do what Ramczyk does on the right side.
No.
Because that's what, Landon Young?
Yeah, I think the two impact guys there are Olave and Ramczyk, right? And I mean, and we saw it last week. Taysom didn't play after being questionable in a DNP for 3 straight days. I mean, I kind of take a page out of that and say maybe Olave just doesn't play this week.
Yeah, but if you get Shaheed back, that's certainly a good thing because to me, not having Jamal Williams is interesting. Or possibly not having him. He's questionable.
Jamal or Kendrick Miller.
Yeah, man. And that's why you saw the signing of the name of Robinson this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting because my key, frankly, to this game, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. Or we've talked a lot about quarterbacks, but I think whoever runs the ball the best is winning this game.
I think so too.
Whoever runs the ball the best and takes care of the ball the best because both teams are horrible at stopping the run, yet both teams can take the ball away. So whoever runs the ball the best against the opposing terrible run defense and whoever is able to take care of the ball or gets more takeaways, to me, that's going to be the 2 deciding factors in this game. I feel better about this game than you do, but I don't feel great. I feel
and I agree
about
with your running the ball statement, but I also think it's going to come down. These are 2 running backs that are exceptional at pass catching. So I think not only is it going to come down to running the ball, I think it's going to come into who calls the best plays to put their playmakers in the best situation.
That's always, absolutely. But I do like getting Taysom back.
Absolutely.
I think that brings stability to that offense, and we saw how wobbly they were without him last week.
It gives them someone to run between the tackles.
Absolutely. So, look, without Jamal Williams, or possibly without Jamal Williams, and they have got nothing out of that second running back. Until last week, I thought Jamal played a good game last week. Getting Taysom back would certainly help in that regard. Still, it's about time for the weekend, and then we'll meet back up Sunday inside the Superdome. So away we go into this another football weekend, and hopefully the Saints can keep this win streak going.
All right, so the Saints taking on the Giants this weekend, and once again, it is the Big Easy versus the Big Apple right here in the Superdome. For Sean Fazende, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys on Monday with a recap of Saints versus Giants.